Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Because I've Healed. I am so delighted and grateful that you are here. This episode is going to be a little bit different for a couple of reasons. One, I'm on the road. I'm recording this episode right now from Panama City, Panama, in Central America. Two, I didn't write out the full concept for the episode like I normally do, so I've got an outline, but I'm going to go a little bit off the cuff. And three, what I'm going to talk to you about today is actually still really relevant and present for me right now. And usually I try to wait a little bit so that there's some distance between what I've experienced and me telling you about it so that I can make sure I've got all the lessons together. But today I felt like it was really important just to share what I'm going through and experiencing right now as I have left home and I'm traveling on my way to relocating my life completely to Portugal. So stay tuned. It's going to be a great one.
Welcome to Because I've Healed, the podcast where we talk about shaking the chains of expectations placed on us by the world. My name is Asha Wilkerson, and I'm a former high achieving attorney and college professor turned healing focused life coach for Black women. Each week, I'm bringing you a life lesson that started with healing. Not only will I explain the chains I was able to break, but also the success I experienced after. Let's get to healing.
All right. So let me tell you what's going on with me right now. About a week ago, almost a week ago, I left Portland where I had spent a couple months with my mom in my transition of leaving California and heading to Portugal. And originally, I was supposed to be in Portugal in February. My housing fell through, and then I decided to stay a couple more months with my mom. Now, I'm my mom's only child, and we are super, super connected. Plus, I've got some really good friends in Portland. Plus, since I've transitioned my business from a law practice and business coaching to life coaching and healing, I wanted to take advantage of that time in between to really just reconnect with myself, get clear on what it is that I want, and to build the business without the pressure of having to make it in this new world and new life. And what I'm experiencing, it has been really, really good, even though there's a part of me that feels like I'm not yet making progress. Or when I was there, at least, I felt like I wasn't making any progress because I was just in the same place for 3 months. But now that I have left and literally jumped on an airplane, I feel so excited. And there's a couple of things about that. I know that I am so happy and inspired and creative when I'm traveling the world and when I'm living in different places. Yet it was really important for me to have that time to sit down and to get grounded and to get clear with what I wanted and how I wanted to do it. So I am really excited about that. I'm excited about the changes that have happened. I'm talking to my friends and like, you just seem lighter and brighter. I'm like, yeah, it's because I'm no longer on the West Coast and I'm doing the thing that I love, which is traveling and connecting to people. But let me tell you what also has happened. There's not always the support that I want to have as I'm making this transition. And it's not that anybody has told me not to make this transition, but because I am moving further away, the dynamics of some of my relationships are changing. And I'm okay with that because I know that I'm going to do what I can to maintain contact and to stay in touch. But some of the people that are important in my life feel like they're being left behind. And I wanted to share this with you today because this happens every single time we get to a new level or every single time we level up. We are surrounded by people who are in the same place as us, either mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, who we have things in common with. But every time you get ready to take the next step, there's undoubtedly going to be some people that you leave behind. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it does change the relationship dynamic. And sometimes that's not too fun, especially when those voices that you're hearing or the people that you're changing the relationship with are really important voices in your life. So, for example, my family has been supportive, but they're also questioning what I'm doing and making comments about, well, I hope you find yourself and when are you going to get it together? And, you're just in a different place than everybody else. And I've had to really sit with those comments and to recognize that those comments are actually more about the people in my life saying them than they are about me. Sure, I am on a journey to find myself again and to realign my life, but I don't feel like I'm lost without a purpose. I'm actually very clear on what my purpose is. My purpose is to live and work and be in alignment at all times. That's what I want to do. I'm creating a life or recreating my life that feels really, really good, a life where I can thrive and shine and not have so much friction and just enjoy existing. But that also comes from a place of privilege because I'm not worried about, at least not yet, about being hungry or not being able to pay rent, right? I've planned it out so that I've got some cushion for myself and I'm trusting my skills that I'll be able to provide a life for myself. But the older generation didn't have that same luxury. My mom, my uncle, and my auntie had careers where they worked for the same employer for right around 40 years. That doesn't exist for us today, for us millennials and the younger generation. Life looks totally different. Work looks completely different. The American dream looks completely different. Or maybe the dream is the same, but the way you go about getting the dream can be totally different. And so, what I'm experiencing now is that rub between doing something different than the generation ahead of me, or before me, I should say, and finding my own way. I'm very, very clear that I'm on the right path and that I'm doing what I need to do, but there's still a part of me that wishes I had a little bit more understanding, I would say, a little bit more support. So, I thought today about what can I tell people who are experiencing a similar thing, a similar up level or a similar change? What do you need to do when you're making a change in your life that may take you away from the support system that you know and throw you into a new situation? And there's three things that I think you really need to do. The first thing is to make sure that you stay connected with your wants and desires. I have spent a lot of time journaling and reflecting and in Reiki sessions and in yoga and in different healing sessions, just thinking about what it is that I actually want and whose voices am I listening to? Are the measures of success, are they my measures of success or did they come from someplace else? And I'm doing that without judgment. And I'm making sure that at each turn or that at each decision point, that I am asking myself, Asha, what is it that you want to do? But in order to stay connected to that innermost desire, I have to create this quiet space for myself. For me, I love doing that in the mornings. My favorite morning routine is to get up, make a cup of coffee, and to sit down with my journal and just write. Sometimes I'm writing about an event that's come up, some thoughts that I have, and sometimes I just free write just to see what happens. But that allows me to actually get my thoughts out on a piece of paper without having to talk to anybody else about them. It allows me to see what's coming up, and I'll write that thought down, and then I'll think about, well, where did that come from? Is that actually from me? Is that actually what I want? I can give you an example from years ago. I was just talking about this with a friend. We were talking about the online business movement, especially for women. Probably 7, 8 years ago, it was have a six-figure business, and now it's have $1 million business. And I remember getting swept up in the phrasing of have $1 million business, have $1 million business. And I was calculating how much legal work I would need to do to have this $1 million business. And then something said, Asha, do you actually want $1 million business? Not that I don't want $1 million, but do I want to do what it takes to have $1 million business? Is $1 million what I actually need to be happy? Or could I be really happy with 150 or 250 or 400,000? And I started to think about that and I thought about what kind of life I wanted to live, how much money it would take. And I'll tell you, mine right now, as a single woman with no kids, being able to pay off my debt, my student loans, and to live the life that I want and be able to travel whenever I want, that is about $264,000, not $1 million. And so I had to really think about what was it that I was hearing out in this world and what was I getting caught up in and swept up in and what was actually true for me. So as you're getting ready to take this next step, if you're just thinking about leveling up or making a big change or you're actually in the midst of it, you must stay connected with your desires. Really think about what they are, write them down, meditate on them, and make sure that your desires are really your desires. And once you have those are going to chart your course. They're going to help you make the decisions that will help you get closer to those desires and to stay away from the decisions that are going to take you away from them. So do that. Meditate in the mornings, journal, whatever your practice needs to be for you. Stay connected and in tune with your desires regularly. The second thing that's been really helpful for me as I make this transition is having an outlet to voice my frustrations. Now, fortunately, I consider myself really blessed to be able to have a few different outlets. One of them is also my journal, but I also have really good friends who are super supportive so that I can talk to them when there's a difference of opinion between my mom and me, or when my uncle doesn't understand what I'm doing or why. And I can, that there's safe spaces for me to just be able to talk without having to censor myself, to say, these are my dreams. What do you think about this? Or this is what I experienced. How would you handle it? Or just to have an ear to listen. So I am so grateful for my friends who are able to hold that space for me. But for you, it could be your journal. It could be a good friend. It could be a family member. It could be a therapist. It could be a community group. Whoever or wherever that space is, it is so important to be able to voice the frustrations or the friction points that you're experiencing, because just because you're healing and you're leveling up doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. In fact, when you start making changes and choosing you, sometimes it becomes a little bit more frustrating because now you're disrupting the status quo. Now you're disrupting the way you were used to relating to people and the way people were relating to you. And they're going to say stuff. I would not expect everybody to be content or happy with the change in relationship. But you will find people who will be supportive of the changes that you're making in your life. And it's really, really important that you connect with them, that you have at least one person to voice your frustrations, your concerns, your fears. You need one person that you can go to when you need some encouragement, a little loving, so that you can continue to move forward on your path as you keep your wants and desires front and center. The third thing is to join a community of like minded people. Join a community of people who are thinking like you and who are moving in the direction that you want to go in. One of the first things that I did when I decided that I was interested in moving to Portugal is I joined the Black in Portugal WhatsApp text group and started following them on Instagram. Now, that group is huge. There's a lot of messages that go back and forth. I have them on mute and I tune in when I want to, but it's really, really helpful to see that there are hundreds of people who have decided to leave the US and to move to another country and to move to Portugal, specifically where I am going. I am also in a group coaching, business group coaching group. And that is super helpful because I'm there with other online entrepreneurs, and some are meeting in person, but people who are building their businesses using the internet, who are trying to create freedom, who are people of color, who are experiencing similar situations as me, who are breaking generational traumas, who are building generational wealth, who are people who are starting their own or maintaining their own businesses to get to their dreams. And they're doing it in a way that aligns with them. And I have joined this business community and multiple business communities to make sure that I get the support that I need, because my friends who are still working a 9 to 5, they may be supportive, but they're not going to run up against the same issues because they're not entrepreneurs. So I've also joined a few other groups like Reiki groups. I've gone back to yoga. I have surrounded myself with people who are on a similar spiritual and healing journey as well. And in the beginning, I was like, oh, people are going to think I'm weird for doing Reiki. They're going to think I'm weird for, I don't know, divesting from the Christian church. They're going to think I'm weird for wanting to increase my intuition. But the more that I talk about the journey that I'm on, the more I meet people who are on a similar journey. And instead of feeling like I'm the only one out here trying to figure this out, I realize that I'm surrounded by a community of people who are on a similar path, who have lots of love and support and wisdom to share. And it means that I'm not walking that path alone. So, whatever the changes that you want to make, if you are thinking of moving to another country, if you're thinking of starting a business, if you're thinking of quitting your job or retiring early, whatever it is that you were looking to do, find a community of like-minded people who can help you get there. Now, one of the opportunities that I have for you to join a community of people is to come with me on a Black Women's Healing Retreat to Ghana. If you are a Black woman who is looking to heal, please do it in community. We can get only so far on our own by ourselves, but to do it in community will just take us to the next level. The retreat in Ghana takes place September 15th through the 21st. We'll land in Accra and head to Cape Coast. We will spend the week together learning, healing, connecting with our ancestors, resting, resetting, and coming home in every sense of the word. This retreat is transformational. My first and second time to Ghana and third time to Ghana, I was completely transformed. Not because of some like giant thunderclap in the sky, but because it helped me figure out who I was even more. It helped me reconnect to myself. It helped me learn a different narrative about my ancestors, which allowed me to see myself in a different light. And it allowed me to put myself first and to learn how to meet my needs first, because I realized for me that all our ancestors have ever wanted was freedom. And how do you get other people free? First, you have to free yourself. That gave me the permission to divest from corporate, to resign from my full time job, to decide to leave the United States and to move abroad, not because this place is better than the other, but because it aligns with who I am, who I want to be, and it allows me to flourish and to grow and to be happy and to be creative. So if you are interested in heading to Ghana with me in September, please head to my website, ashawilkerson.com/Ghana, and check it out. And if you are not able to come to Ghana with me, I would encourage you to sign up for a one-on-one coaching inquiry call. Remember, the second step that I talked about is having an outlet for yourself so that you can share your frustrations, your hopes, and your dreams with someone who can be supportive. I am that person for you in my coaching container. Not only will I help you connect with your desires and to flesh out your wants, but I will also make sure that you have a plan and the next steps for how to get there. It's not enough to just dream. Dreaming is important, but what I believe in more than that is actually taking action on your dreams. And it's amazing to me how many people say that I'm being courageous by deciding to leave the US. And honestly, I don't really see it as courageous. I see it as an unwillingness to sit in my discomfort. I'm unwilling to continue the discomfort that I do know. And I'm willing to take this step to explore something that I don't know because it could be, probably will be better. But oftentimes people are afraid of what they don't know and they'd rather sit in what they do know, even if they are uncomfortable. But I am not going to let you do that. I will not let your dreams pass you by. So if you're ready to have some accountability, to start taking steps on living the life that you want, that's in alignment, that's full of freedom, head to ashawilkerson.com/coaching and book a coaching inquiry call. All right. I hope that this episode benefited you. I hope it was easy to follow. And I cannot wait to talk to you again next week. So, as I let you go, I want you to remember that it's because I've healed that I've been able to repair old relationships and start new ones from a different perspective. It's because I've healed that I've been able to leave expectations behind that no longer serve me. And it's because I've healed that I'm currently living my dream life out loud with no regrets.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. The best way to keep in touch is to go to my website, ashawilkerson.com, and join my email list. If you'd like more information about this episode that you just listened to, head to the show notes and you'll find all the details and all the links. See you next week.